if it's not Acro and if it's actually Money, be freaking weird, but here we have Grand Prix photo. The problem with Money also taking the cloak, it's it's really hard to tell with all just the shining lights here. Maybe the cloak really was that shiny, or it could have just been the roses that he took. But I mean, that's where we have another problem. Because Max's clothes were in the Ringmaster's room. Max's outfit was in the Ringmaster's room. So, and then, there's no prints or anything. There's nothing indicating that Money would have been there. There's no monkey prints there. Who put the cloak on the bust? The bust had been missing for several days prior to the murder. The cloak and the hat were with Max in the Ringmaster's room at the time. Yet somehow, wouldn't it be hilarious if it was actually Russell? But, I'm trying to think, like, who put the cloak on? Like, why does that matter? I mean, wouldn't it be obvious that it would be Acro to try to frame? But I guess the problem is like, the only reason Acro would put the cloak on the bust would be to basically make it look like it was someone else. The problem is, why would he stage it like that? There's no reason that he would assume that there would be witnesses unless he was expecting witnesses like Mo. So unless he was expecting a witness to be there, but that doesn't make sense because Ben's earlier testimony stated that he saw the Ringmaster and he saw the Ringmaster wearing Max's icons. So is it Russell? That makes no sense because if it was Russell, then it would have fallen on his head and he would have died over the box. But he would have been, his neck would have been broken at that point. So, and then we still have to contend with how the body itself just got lifted up into the air. It was floating up. Ugh. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get this wrong and I'm gonna have to redo a bunch of stuff and get back to this point anyway. So I need to make a guess. And my guesses are either Russell, Acro, or Money. I'm left with 3 different options. Because all Mo saw was the silhouette and Russell's body before the silhouette ascended up into the sky. Which you could probably imagine it was done using rope or something like that to bring the bust back up. And if it was done using like a sort of wire, like a really strong wire, just like Max's invisible wires, which can hold up his own body, then it would look as if it was floating. Again, the big question is why would Acro put the cloak on the bust, and how would he have gotten the cloak in the first place? Unless Money went down to help him, but at this point we're still, like, I keep coming back to the assumption that Money is helping him, when all Money did was steal the bust. That's all Money has been shown to do. He stole the bust in the first place that Acro then used. But how did Acro get the cloak? That's where I'm coming back to. Because the only way Acro would have gotten that cloak would have been if Money stole it during the meeting between Russell and Max. Which there's no evidence of that for. So the only one who could have brought Max's hat and cloak was Russell. So he had Max's outfit for some reason. Because Acro, we're still going with, he is actually in a wheelchair. Still not 100% of that, but let's just assume that that is totally accurate. He's wheelchair bound. He could not leave his room. He still had to have gotten the cloak from somewhere. This is going to be really dumb, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. I'm going to have to redo a few things. I'm going to say Russell, which is going to be really freaking insane. I'll give it a shot, and if not, then I'll just get back to where we were at. Fool! Him? You're saying it was the victim himself? Russell Berry? That's what I'm saying. The victim himself placed the cloak on the bust. Place the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it. Then what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright? Explain yourself! Nick, do you really have a handle on all this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm fine putting all the pieces together. Unless the cloak got caught on the cards when it fell, then maybe? There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright, so you want to know what really happened that night. Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trilo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. And that's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant that the bust hit the victim, you just wait a second there, Mr. Phoenix Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true! It can't be! It's still a little early to be getting so upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet. What? The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged onto the bust. That impact also caused the sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Moe Curls, the clown. When Mo looked out of his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Mo saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because in his wheelchair, he couldn't see out of his window. So he just kept pulling the bust up. And that is how the magical murder disappearing into the sky came to be. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the one person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro, it could only have been you. Acro's been playing mind games with all of us. He sure has. But he has come to the end of his rope now. So? What now? You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true? Evidence? In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip. Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence? Nick, they say they want evidence! I just explained how there can only be one possible murder method. There's still something unusual about Mo's eyewitness account. Unusual? A contradiction, actually. Okay, then use that and get out of this jam. Oh boy, that was a while ago for me. That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claims. I want hard proof that you have unraveled the trick to this magic case. Ah. What was Mo's testimony that they're talking about? God, that was a while ago, and I don't remember. Oh, what is he talking about? There's a contradiction based on Mo's testimony. I still have yet to use this note in any meaningful way. Aside from just getting, like, info out of Acro earlier. The pepper bottle? I mean, the pepper bottle is essentially... It's proof of this. How this connects, but that's not what I don't think that's what I'm trying to prove right now. There's Leon. What? What is Phoenix trying to get at? What was in Mo's testimony that I'm trying to think that was the reason for this? Hard proof that I've unraveled. So hard proof that showed that this was exactly what happened, that also proves a contradiction within Mo's testimony. I can't even, oh shoot, I can't even make a quick save. I'm gonna have to do this, and if I get it wrong, then that's even more backed up that I have to go through. Ah, jeez. Okay. I don't think it would be profiles, because the only thing when it comes to Bat is... The only thing that comes to Bat is that it gives Acro a motive for doing any of this. Bat is his motive. It's his motive to essentially, either Russell was just too negligent, or he's trying to get back at Regina. To to be fair, the thing that the note does is that it shows intent. It shows intent, and it also puts everything in perspective. Meet me at 10 p.m. tonight at the Lodging House Plaza. That means that he put everything into motion, and the note is the proof that he put all of this in motion. I'm gonna go for it. Take that! I think I'm wrong. I am indeed wrong. Well, damn it. Gotta reload the save now, and that's quite a bit that I have to go back to. Well, that's just great. Okay, well, it took about 10 minutes to get back to where I was. Thankfully, I made a quick save before showing evidence. So we have plenty of chances now. But I still have no idea what exactly it is that they want me to do. Hard proof that we've unraveled the trick that creates a contradiction within Moe's testimony. I'm trying to think of all the important things that Moe said in his testimony. There was a thump at the window, and when he looked out the window, he saw Russell and the silhouette of Max before the silhouette of Max flew up into the sky. I mean, he wouldn't have seen the hat because the hat fell on the opposite side of the box. He wouldn't have seen the roses because the roses were opposite. Showing like kind of what it was. So the only thing like you would have seen like the bust of Max's face looking towards him. The fact that he was like so far away, that could be excused as just the silhouette. Yeah, because you wouldn't have seen the hat there. Hard proof that we've unraveled the trick. Not the map, is it? No, because from Moe's vantage point, that wouldn't really be any different. There's money, but money doesn't really do anything. Leon is dead and is just a motive. There's the box, there's the pepper, but he couldn't have known what was inside. We tried the note. It wasn't anything. Hard proof that you've unraveled the trick. I'm trying to just think, because Phoenix said that there was something bothering him about Moe's testimony, but that was so long ago, I'm trying to remember what exactly it is that just was super weird about it. Like, I don't think there was anything... Unless there's just some small detail that I'm forgetting, which is probably the case. It isn't the note, because we tried the note, and that gave us the game over last time. Why put anything in the box, though? Because I don't think the seasoning bottle is really going to do anything. The seasoning bottle is just the proof that this note has, which, by the way, the save thing still says 4-1. So I'm willing to bet that once we get through with this, then it's going to be what's his motive, and then that's when we're going to be given kind of the break. Is it because he's missing it's missing the roses, but the roses were on the cloak, and the cloak is facing the other way. But again, like, the way that he was being faced, like, that wouldn't really be too weird. is it the hat? Because that's the weird thing. The hat was left at the scene, but Mo testified that he saw the hat go up. Like, he left with the hat, so maybe that's it.
Take that!
The problem is Max's 3 symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses. Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings. Yesterday, there were 2 contradictions in Mo's testimony. The silk hat was one, the white roses were the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool, do you ever shut up? Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Mo said yesterday. He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Mo saw was actually the bust's. Makes sense. If you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of.
Objection!
Fine! You've got one. But what about the other contradiction? The other contradiction? Remember what that ventriloquist said in court? He said that he witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said that there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try and explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick? Of course, I can explain all of it. What was that? Please recall the instant when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, what happened to the white roses? Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Which explains why Mo didn't see them. The white roses were not visible because they were on the back side of the bust. Order! Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads. Let's do this, Nick! Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel. Well, so much for that theory. Mr. Wright, do you mind? What is it? You took the time to research our circus, didn't you? Well, yes, I did. Is there something making you think that I didn't? If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track. Why is that? Motive. This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there is absolutely no way someone like this would kill the ringmaster. I knew it. Second part of the trial is establishing motive. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Acro's story. Learn about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up until now. What do we do? There's no doubting that Acro deeply respected the ringmaster. Acro's motive. It seems that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess. Okay, well, that was a bit intense. Honestly, blessing in disguise, I'm a little bit thankful for the game over because that allowed me to get back all of my tries from earlier. So we'll at least have that. But I do think that a lot of the evidence that we still have is going to be used to establish the motive. We have the pepper, we have the note, we have Leon, and his anger with Regina. It was less about Russell and more trying to get back at Regina and taking away someone that she loves, like she inadvertently, I'm using giant air quotes there, took away his brother. That's the motive that I'm pretty much getting from all the evidence. But we're going to go ahead and call it a day here. So, next time on Let's Play Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All. We're going to continue on with the trial and try to establish a motive. We've got all the tools at our disposal for this, and I have pretty much everything figured out, I think. It's just a matter of putting all the pieces where they should be. That's going to be the key thing. And thankfully, because of the game over, like I mentioned, I've got a lot of tries to do it, so I'm not just completely boned. So, it was a good guess with the note, but yeah, again, jumping the gun. Wanting to establish motive, was not supposed to establish motive yet. But we'll go ahead and do that next time. So, until then, everyone, take care.